Peppa and the enchanted bike. One sunny morning, Peppa Pig's house was noisy and joyful. Birds were chirping outside the window, and dew glistened on the grass in the courtyard. Peppa was pulling on her sneakers. George was tinkering with his dinosaur, and Mama Pig was watering the flowers. Daddy Pig suddenly rolled an old bicycle with peeling paint out of the barn and said, "Look, this is my old bike. I think it's enchanted." Peppa immediately ran up to him. "An enchanted bicycle? Is it like a magic carriage? I want to go for a ride." Mama Pig looked at the rusty wheels and smiled. "Dad, are you sure it won't fall apart? He's older than your galoshes." And when George saw the bike, he shouted joyfully, "Dinosaur! Grr." Peppa laughed, looking at her brother, who was stomping around the bike. "George, the bike is not a dinosaur. Dad, let's see if it's magical or not." Daddy Pig proudly patted the seat and said, "It's not just a bike. It's a great enchanted racer. I am a master of riding." They wheeled the bike out into the yard. The sun was shining brightly, and the breeze was stirring the grass. Peppa grabbed the steering wheel. George jumped next to her, and Daddy Pig held the bike so that it wouldn't fall. "I'll go first," Peppa shouted, climbing onto the seat. "Grr, so am I," George said, poking the dinosaur into the wheel. Daddy Pig pushed the bike, and Peppa started pedaling. The wheels creaked, but the bike lurched from side to side. "He's coming! It's magic!" Peppa shouted, laughing. Mama Pig came out with a watering can and said, "Careful, Peppa. This magic bike looks shaky." Peppa was riding around the yard, and the bike suddenly started making strange noises. Ding, ding, ding. It sounded like someone was ringing a bell. Peppa stopped and looked at the steering wheel. "It's ringing. It's definitely an enchanted bike," she said, clapping her hands. Daddy Pig ran up and looked under the seat. "Wow, this is my old call. He hid inside. I am a great finder." But then, the bike decided to mess around. When Daddy Pig sat on it to show him how to ride, the front wheel suddenly swerved to the side, and Daddy Pig drove straight into the bushes. "Oh, it's enchanted. He chooses his own way. Stop it," he shouted, floundering in the leaves. Peppa and George laughed so loudly that even the birds in the tree were surprised. Mama Pig came over and helped Daddy Pig out. "Daddy Pig, you are not a master of riding, but a master of bushes," she said, smiling. Peppa decided to try again. She got on her bike and rode off, and the bell rang again, ding, ding, ding. The bike rode smoothly until it stopped at the sandbox. George ran up and said, "Grr, my move." He climbed onto the seat, but the bike was too big, and George just stamped his feet on the ground, pretending to ride. Peppa giggled. "George, you've bewitched him with your feet." Daddy Pig pulled the bike out of the sandbox and said,